Strange Bodies explores how artists from the 20th century and the first years of the 21st century have used the figure in different ways, sometimes manipulating it entirely, sometimes making it very representational. The exhibition is called Strange Bodies to underscore this idea of psychological disturbance, or the fact that sometimes we reveal ourselves most when we diverge from the norms of behavior or the norms of appearance. The range of artworks here were also chosen so that similarities between artworks that have been made more recently can be demonstrated alongside of works that were made in the past. I'm sitting in front of Julian Schnabel's portrait of Andy Warhol. It's a picture of the famous artist Andy Warhol that's taken from a photograph of Warhol shot by Richard Avedon. The image represents Warhol soon after he had been shot. That's why the figure of Warhol is wearing sort of a pink band around his middle. Rather than presenting to us a celebrity artist in a glamorous sort of mode, as we're used to seeing Warhol, Schnabel is showing Warhol's figure in a very vulnerable state that isn't unlike the way that Giacometti presented the human form in sculptures that are also on view in this gallery. I find that one of the strangest works in the show is a piece by Terry de Cordier called The Equal of God. It's a sculpture that we've nicknamed at the museum the Penguin, with almost like a beak-type form coming out of its face. One way of looking at it is to recognize in that beak a kind of megaphone that's actually been turned around. So rather than projecting speech out to the world, this is a figure that's very turned inward and almost has its own world contained underneath its hood. Ron Mueck's sculpture came about as a result of a session that Mueck did with a live model. The artist and model were sort of struggling to find the right pose, and they eventually just decided to take a break. The model settled down in the corner of the studio, and Mueck discovered the pose that would become this sculpture. While the big man's body is at repose, his face is incredibly animated. So the face might be read as that of someone who's deep in thought, or it could be considered to be an expression of anger and resentment. René Magritte's Delusions of Grandeur 2, a painting from 1948, presents the human figure as if we're experiencing it in a dream. The artist has said about this work that those three sections of the female figure essentially represent three generations, one growing out of the other. This is Francis Bacon's diptych, Study of the Human Body. It's organized into two halves. One features a female form, identifiable mostly by her sexual organs. She's missing a head, she's missing her limbs. And on the other side, there's a male figure that's actually dressed in sporting pads. And in my mind, he's actually doing a sort of violence to the figures. The Hirshhorn Museum actually has about 12,000 artworks in its collection, and some of those, of course, are representational, others are abstract. What you see here in Strange Bodies represents just a very small slice of the figurative or representational works in the museum's collection. By calling the exhibition Strange Bodies, I'm making an attempt to emphasize that all of us actually have strangeness about ourselves or our identities, and that's something that interests the artistic eye.